Weirlings, it's your friendly neighborhood lizard lady. Let me ask you a question. What's scarier, a porcelain doll with an eerie appearance that can sit up on its own? Or a soft, plush doll on its cloth knees that should be floppy? Am I the only one who thinks the cloth doll is creepier? If you've seen James Wan's Conjuring universe, you've heard of Annabelle the Doll. If you've heard of Ed and Lorraine Warren, you've heard of Annabelle the Doll. But what if I told you that the on-screen Annabelle looks nothing like the real one? And I don't know if it's because they couldn't get the rights to Raggedy Ann, or because they thought it would be scarier if it were a porcelain doll. If it's the latter, I think they really missed the mark. Because that doll is effing creepy when you think about it. Let's get into it. In 1971, in Hartford, Connecticut, a 28-year-old nurse, Donna, was given a 3-foot Raggedy Ann doll for Christmas from her mother. Donna had a roommate, also a nurse, and one of them had a boyfriend who would come by. So 3 people are regularly in this apartment with Annabelle. After a few days, weird things started happening. And I'm going to be honest with you, weirdlings, there are a lot of hits when you Google Annabelle the Doll. But here's the thing. Most of it is about the movie, or after the Warrens got involved. So I may not have all the details that you've heard, but I also don't want to spend hours researching just to keep reading the same information over and over and over again. I just do this myself, no assistance, just me. That's why I may not have all of the details you've heard. I'm more of a toe dipper than a deep diver. So at first, the trio thought it was just their imagination, playing tricks on them. They did play tricks on each other, moving the doll around and leaving it in different places for a fun little jump scare to one-up each other. After a while, they got bored with that, but the doll wasn't done. The doll started moving on its own. No one admitted to doing it. They claimed that the doll would move its arms on its own. So, remember, this was the 70s. The roommates called a medium. The medium told them that there was the spirit of a little girl trapped in the doll. A girl named Annabelle. To confirm that the doll was possessed, the medium held a ritual, similar to a seance. I'm not saying mediums aren't real, I'm just going to say that if you really are a medium and you charge for it, I'm going to call you a con artist. I would believe a medium that refuses money over one that takes it. The medium checked for spirits and confirmed the initial findings that Annabelle Higgins was a 5-year-old child who had been struck and killed by a car outside the apartment building. Spoiler, that wasn't true. The nurse had been told that the doll was possessed, but it wasn't violent. Are we actually supposed to believe that? But again, this was the 1970s, so the roommates believed it. Donna and Annabelle became inseparable. But the gentle, benign love between doll and woman didn't last. Or it wouldn't be a spooky corner. They started to hear knocking sounds late at night, like something was in the walls. Now, devil's advocate, it could have just been the neighbors. They did live in an apartment. They saw flashing red, yellow, and orange lights on the ceiling of the bedroom. The bed would start shaking and rattling at midnight. The temperature would mysteriously drop, and sometimes Annabelle would glow. So, the boyfriend was tired of the activity and said they should burn the doll, which isn't a bad idea. Burn it, take the ashes, salt them, mix them with concrete, throw them in a river, just get rid of it. But Annabelle said no. Before they got a chance to burn the doll, the boyfriend woke up from a nap with his hands on his own neck. He said he was having a dream that the doll was choking him. When he moved his hands, he saw marks, scratches, and deep red welts on his neck. Things went from unsettling to batshit crazy in an instant. Pictures and frames exploded off the walls, chairs rolled across the room, and the lights would flicker on and off. Messages were written on walls. Annabelle was found propped up somehow, no explanation how, on her knees in the middle of the hall. And the boyfriend was attacked again, brutally. Very cinematic, right? Let me just tell you, the story we have comes from the Warrens, who have been called multiple things, including frauds, con people, grifters, and money hungry. I'm going to say they weren't great people, and they made a lot of money on their stories. Good storytellers, sure. But a real medium and demonologist? That I have a hard time believing, given how much money they made off each case. Not from the people, but from telling the stories. So, the nurses called the High Episcopal Church in Hartford, and that's how they got into contact with Ed and Lorraine. The Warrens said it wasn't a little girl spirit. I could have told you that. But they took it a step further. They said it was a demon that was preying on the sympathy of the women. Yeah, demon is a stretch. Me? I would be more inclined to say fae, or even the theory that poltergeist activity comes from a sort of telekinesis that happens when people are going through puberty or high-stress situations. Kind of like Jean Grey with the Dark Phoenix had no control over anything. Jean can control it, but the Phoenix Force has a mind of its own. According to the Warrens, the seance released the demon. As the nurses gave the doll more attention, the demon became more powerful and basically decided it could do whatever it wanted. And I guess it did. The Warrens said that the house was infested by an earthbound spirit or demonic being. The Raggedy Ann doll was a doorway, a portal for spirits. Spooky, but not very believable. To me. Look, I'm an open-minded skeptic. I love listening to stories, and I know some could be true, but not all of them. I'm more inclined to believe the stone tape theory, which I have talked about. The short of that is, a traumatic incident is recorded on a location and replayed over and over. It explains ghosts walking through walls and floating above the ground. That's more of what I believe, as opposed to demons and all that kind of stuff. So, the Warrens took the doll and put it in their museum. Again, with money as a motive, people get to tour the museum. When a death was attributed to Annabelle, they decided to just lock her up, because an exorcism would be too difficult. A priest insulted her and was said to have crashed his car into a tree. A 20-something man mocked Annabelle and is said to have died in a motorcycle accident. Another devil's advocate moment. People suck at driving, and motorcycles are dangerous. She's still in the museum, in a plexiglass case that has wars and sigils all over it. She's supposed to not be moved, but she goes on tours. The last one was in May 2025. Again, money. Ed and Lorraine are no longer alive, but their daughter and her husband are still responsible for the items in the museum. And, oh yeah, still make money off of it. So is Annabelle haunted or possessed? Maybe. I don't know. I haven't met her. Is the giant Raggedy Ann creepier than Porcelain Doll? Abso-effing-lutely! For the same reasons why a baby crying is chilling when there isn't a baby around. It's unnatural. Porcelain dolls can be positioned and you can walk away. A cloth doll has to be held. So, who was holding the doll on its knees? If that really happened, I would turn around and nope out of there. So, creepy story, yes. Possessed doll? Lots of money for the Warren estate? You betcha. I'm still a fan, but I'm not going to believe everything they say or everything anyone says. Sleep well, weirdlings, and don't let a medium convince you to give a spirit or whatever a vessel in your home. Just don't invite it in. Keep the effing door shut.